राघव विद्या अवाप्य विबुधोत्तमतां दधानं कुर्वे सदा हृदि गुरुं करुणाकराख्यं लक्ष्मीनाथ समारंभां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्म व्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये मातापिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वय भट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यं श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्यः कवितार्किककेसरी वेदांताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदा हृदि. In the previous lecture, we saw about the Acharya, Natha Muni. We saw about his initial days. We saw about how he was an expert at Bhakti Yoga, how he was also an expert at several other things, how he heard the verses of Divya Prabandhan and realizing that the sweetness of Bhakti, experiencing it as a Sharanagata, is better than the experience that you get when you perform Ashtanga Bhakti Yoga. This great Acharya decided to find out all the verses. Eventually, by the grace of Shatakopa Muni, that is Swami Nammalvar, he learned all the 4,000 verses. He set a proper tune. He started teaching it to Shishyas. We saw all of that in the previous lecture. Today, we will see about the next few Acharyas. The first one that we are going to see about is Uyyakondar. In Sanskrit, he is known as Pundarikaksha. Now, this great Acharya, he was a Shishya of Natha Muni. We saw a little about him, 1-2 sentences maybe, in the previous class. So, Pundarikaksha Acharya, he is also called Sri Pundarika Dasa. He is called by a number of other names, but he himself also had a Shishya who was called Pundarika Dasa. So we should be a little cautious in how we are differentiating. This person is Pundarikaksha Acharya, that is, as an Acharya, his name was Pundarika, and as a Vaishnava, he was addressed as Pundarika Dasa. Now, Uyyakondar, he was born in a place called Tiruvellarai, Shvetagiri. That is a Divya Desha. There is a famous temple of Vishnu there. Bhagavan in that temple is himself called Pundarikaksha. What does Pundarikaksha mean? One who has lotus eyes. So Pundarikaksha is a Niravakasha Linga for Bhagavan. Niravakasha Linga means you can use that term only to refer to a very, very specific being. So Pundarikaksha very, very specifically means Vishnu. Vishnu in all of his forms will be Pundarikaksha. You can call Krishna as Pundarikaksha. You can call Rama as Pundarikaksha. you can call Narasimha as Pundarikaksha. Any avatar you can call as Pundarikaksha if it is Vishnu. So, Bhagavan Vishnu in Tiruvellarai, he is known by the name of Pundarikaksha. This Acharya received the same name. In Tamil, he is called Uyakondar. So, in the previous lecture, we saw a little about him and also about Kurugai Kavalapar. Today, we will see more about him. So, he was born in Tiruvellarai in the year of Prabhava. You might be aware in Sanskrit, we say a list of 60 years. After the 60 years, for each year, there is a name. In Chinese also, they have that system where each year is called by a name. So we have 60 names. After that, the 61st name will again be the first name. The 61st year will be the first year. So when we perform Sankalpa, you might have heard, if you have seen people during ceremonies, especially when they perform Upakarma, what do you see? You see them saying, Prabhavadi Shashti Samvatsaranam Madhye. Samvatsara means year. So there are 60 years starting from Prabhava. The 61st year is again called Prabhava, that way. So Uyakondar was born in the year of Prabhava in Chitra under Kartika Nakshatra. He was taught the Divya Prabandha in entirety by Sriman Nathamuni. He also learned the Vedanta Granthas. And after Sriman Nathamuni departed to the divine abode, he started teaching these to his Shishyas. So who were his Shishyas? Manakkal Nambi, about whom we are going to see next. That was one of his Shishyas. Then Tiruvallikeni, Pan Perumal Rayar, Setlur Dasa. Then another Pundarika Dasa, as I said. And then one more Shishya called Ulaga Perumal. So these Ulaga Perumal Nangai, these types of teaching to Shishyas by taking on the duty of the Acharya after the time of the Acharya is also to be considered as a seva to the Acharya. So Uyakondar, with utmost devotion towards his Acharya who had departed, he transferred his knowledge to his Shishyas, whose names we just saw. And then, after that, he eventually decided that Manakkal Nambi would be his successor. So it is said that back when Sriman Nathamuni learned the entirety of Divya Prabandha by the grace of Nammalvar, he returned to Katumannar Kovil and he started teaching there. At that time, he taught Ashtanga Yoga to Kurugai Kavalapar. We saw that part in the previous lecture. When he saw his other Shishya, Uyakondar, he asked him, would you also like to learn Ashtanga Yoga? But Uyakondar replied, saying, Pinam Kidakka, Manam Punaralamo, implying that when there are so many jivas, Anantakoti jivas are there, and they are all suffering because of ajnana. They don't understand about Bhagavan. They don't understand the reason why they exist. They don't understand the purpose of life. They don't understand what is good, what is bad. They live as they please, or sometimes they live a very blind life, just following some way or the other, and they suffer because of that. When such is the case, how could we indulge in Bhagavad Anubhava, in experiencing Bhagavan alone without others? When you perform Ashtanga Yoga is not where you also go to the temple, you go to Ayodhya temple and then say Jai Shri Ram along with all the other devotees. They also say Jai Shri Ram. You get the happiness of praying to Bhagavan. That is not Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is where Taila Dharadivat, we have seen that before. You have non-stop thinking about Bhagavan. You have to do it perfectly. It is very difficult. But because it is very difficult, it is not meant for everybody. Everybody is not capable of doing it. It takes a very great yogi to be able to perform it properly. Thus, it is not meant for the public because the public cannot do it properly. If you give something very difficult and then tell the public this is the path, how many of them will be able to follow it? As the public cannot experience Bhagavan this way, only a few of us can experience Bhagavan this way. I don't think it is good. Remember, when we use words like I in English, we should remember he was a Sri Vaishnava. So, as a Sri Vaishnava, he would have not had used words like I. He would have used words as Dasa, Adiyavan, Adiyan, those kinds of words. So, he told his Acharya that this humble Dasa of yours does not feel that it is right to learn how to experience Bhagavan in a way that is available for us, but not for the public. Whatever the public is capable of, whichever way is ideal for the public, the general public, if we also follow the same path and then spread it to the public, that would be of a much greater impact. So, in this manner, he replied. He did learn Ashtanga Yoga. It is not like he did not learn, he learned it. Now, his Acharya, Sriman Nathamuni, he had a son called Ishvara Muni. The same name as Nathamuni's father was there for Nathamuni's son also. Ishvara Muni had a son. So to that son who is to be brought to Ishvara Muni, Sriman Nathamuni said to both of his Shishyas, you please teach him. You please teach him as well. Who is that him? That him is only Yamunacharya, about whom we saw earlier. That Yamunacharya, who was unable to get the opportunity to learn Bhakti Yoga, the Ashtanga Bhakti Yoga. We have seen about that part already. So after the days of Sriman Nathamuni, Uyakondar became his successor. So he started teaching everyone and guiding them towards Bhagavan. Then eventually his time on earth was about to get finished. At that point of time, his Shishya Manakal Nambi asked him, who should we take as your successor? And he replied by saying, you yourself will be my successor. You take care of the Sampradaya and also teach. Who? Yamunai Turaivan, who would become Yamunacharya, Ishvara Muni's son. You teach him, you train him well. In that way, he said. So, like how we have a shloka for Sriman Nathamuni, not just one shloka, there are multiple shlokas written in his praise. In Sri Vaishnavism, we have this concept called Taniyan. Taniyan means it is a single shloka that is composed to pay our respects. In that manner, we have a number of shlokas composed by different great acharyas for teaching. You are paying your respects for the great acharyas, without whose help you would not have got any knowledge. So for Sriman Nathamuni, one such shloka, it is composed by Swami Deshika, a very popular one. Nathena muninatena bhaveyam nathavanaham yasya naigamikam tatvam hastamalakatam gatam. Likewise, for Uyakondar, there is a shloka. Namasyami Aravindaksham. Aravindaksha means Pundarikaksha. Pundarika means lotus, same as Aravinda. So Namasyami Aravindaksham Natha Bhave Vyavasthitam Shuddha Sattvamayam Shaurehe Avataram Nivaparam. We can see these shlokas in Yatiraja Saptati, composed by Swami Deshika. So Deshika in Yatiraja Saptati, he first prays to Sriman Narayana. Then he prays to Sri Devi, who is his divine consort. After that, to Vishwaksena, to Sri Shathakopa, to Sriman Natha Muni, Sri Pundarikaksha, Sri Rama Mishra, and then Sri Yamunacharya. In that way, the Guru Parampara, he continuously one shloka for each Acharya in the Parampara. In that way, Swami Deshika dedicates until he reaches Yatiraja himself, that is Ramanujacharya. We can see this in Yatiraja Saptati, composed by Swami Deshika. So, next we will see about Sri Manakal Nambi. Near Sriranga, on the way to another temple that is called Anbil, that is also a Divya Desha. If you are traveling from this Srirangam temple to Anbil temple, on the way, on the banks of Kaveri river, there would be a village which was called Manakal. So when we call him Manakal Nambi, that Manakal refers to the village. Nambi, of course, we have seen the meaning of the word Nambi in the past. So we address him as Manakal Nambi. These names are given, these types of names are given out of respect. Even Alavandar, as a matter of fact, that was not the name given to him during his birth. We already saw. We address him as Alavandar after the queen got extremely pleased at how he defeated the court scholar, the Asthana Vidwan of the kingdom, was defeated by the child. After that incident, he was addressed as Alavandar. So that the names that we are seeing in Tamil are titles that are given to them out of respect. So, Manakal Nambi, who was otherwise called Rama Mishra, he was born in the village of Manakal in the Tamil month of Masi, under Magha Nakshatra. He was the foremost Shishya of Uyakondar. So he performed a lot of seva to his Acharya. He also studied the Vedanta Granthas. He also studied the Divya Prabandha. His Acharya, Uyakondar, his wife, that is Uyakondar's wife, left the earth before Swami Uyakondar himself. So as long as she was there, she was taking care of the house. After she attained Vaikuntha, Manakal Nambi decided to perform seva to his Acharya by taking care of cooking, taking care of the house. Taking care of the children. So, as a Shishya, he did not just behave like, okay, I have come to you, you are teaching me. The only relationship between me and you is that of knowledge. No. He had very genuine seva bhava with which he took care to ensure that his Acharya does not face the slightest discomfort. After Sri Uyakonda attained Vaikuntha, he took a lot of effort to transmit the teachings of Sri Vaishnavism to the next generation. So at that time, what had happened by this time? By the time Uyakondar had become very old, Yamunai Turaivan, the grandson of Sriman Nathamuni, had already visited the kingdom. He had visited the palace. He had indulged in the debate. Then he had won it. He had become adopted by the king and the queen. Then he had grown up and he had become the ruler there. We have already seen the story of Yamunacharya. So he was a ruler when Manakal Nambi met him. So Sri Uyakonda instructed his Shishya Manakal Nambi to somehow ensure that the great Nathamuni's grandson returns properly to the fold. He has forgotten about Bhagavan. He has forgotten about Vedanta. He is living as a king, thinking only about materialistic things. This treasure of knowledge he has missed because he is running behind materialistic things. So, Manakal Nambi tried many times to somehow get permission to enter the palace and meet the king. But nobody ever let him go. Manakal Nambi would look like a very poor man, a very ordinary person. And he says, I want to meet the king. Nobody would even go to Alavandar and tell him that such and such a person is here to meet you. People would send Manakal Nambi back saying, you are such an ordinary person. You are saying you want to meet the king. Like you, 10,000 other people will say, I also know the king. I want to meet the king. How can we let you? Do you have any permission? Do you have any recommendation? Does anybody else inside the palace know you? They would ask these kinds of questions. Do you have any proof? Can you show any proof that you are related to the king? Manakal Nambi would not have the answer for any of those. Therefore, he would not be permitted to enter the palace. This is the reason why he thought, okay, we will keep trying, some way or the other will come to us. by the grace of Bhagavan and our Acharyas. So he got to see that once there was a cook of Alavandar. We have seen the story before, so we will not spend too much time on it. So this cook did not know what to serve the king, and the appropriate dish was suggested by Manakal Nambi, and it worked. And because Manakal Nambi planted these plants from which the leaves he would go and give it to the cook became dependent on him. The king, who had become addicted to the food, had also become dependent. So once Manakal Nambi stopped visiting, and thus the dish could not be prepared. The king inquired, what happened? The cook said, I have not received the plant. This is a very high quality plant that we were receiving from Manakal Nambi. But now I am no longer receiving it. That is the reason why I am not able to prepare. So then the king said, bring that person to me. This is how Manakal Nambi got to meet Alavandar. What happens after that? We know well. He tells him there is a much bigger treasure. He takes him to Sriragam. He shows Bhagavan. Then Alavandar remembers his childhood. He remembers about bhakti. He remembers what he has missed. He immediately returns to the kingdom, transfers his duties to other people. He does whatever is necessary to be done by him as a king, finishes that quickly, and then takes up sannyasa, saying, this life of comforts has taken me away from Bhagavan. I don't want such a kind of situation ever again. So the treasure that had been preserved by the ancestors of Alavandar was returned to him. The treasure that is called Bhagavan. What Manakal Nambi used to do was, during this time, before he took him to the temple and showed him, he said, I cannot show you the treasure right away. I will have to meet you multiple times before that. And you need to give me permission. If you are fine with this request, then I can transfer that great treasure to you. And Alavandar had said, okay, what is the big deal? You meet me. Meet me whenever you want. That is fine. Because Alavandar, as the king, he has been told there is a great treasure, that too treasure left by his ancestors. He thinks it must be gold, rubies, and whatnot. Thinking about it that way, he said, you come meet me whenever you want. So, using this as a reason, Manakal Nambi used to visit Alavandar every day. And while speaking, he would teach Bhagavad Gita and eventually other things, so that little by little he would get affinity. At that point of time, Alavandar started appreciating the philosophical aspects, but still had not completely remembered the past and changed back. So Step by step, he was prepared for what was going to come, the spirituality, the path of spirituality. You cannot just one fine day say, this is treasure, this Bhagavan is your treasure, and have a king accept the words. So Manakal Lambi was extremely intelligent. He used to teach in such a way that eventually Alavandar started waiting for Manakal Lambi's arrival. When will he come? What will we learn today? Seeing that, okay, he has become very much interested. He has learned a lot and he is also absorbing. Now the time is appropriate. Deciding that way, Manakal Lambi took Alavandar to Sri Ranga, and there, having seen Bhagavan at the temple, about whom so much had been listened by him through Bhagavad Gita and various other scriptures, he started overflowing with bhakti. And he thought, this is where I should be. I should not go back to the kingdom. So he took sannyasa, settled in Sri Ranga. He performed seva to Bhagavan in the temple. And eventually, he also got acharyatva. And this particular type of leafy vegetable incidentally, they say it is called Tuduvalai Kirai. But we can see, perhaps as a coincidence, that Valai means surround, in a way, something that surrounds, like a ring shape. Tud in Tamil comes from the Sanskrit word Duta. We can see that Manakal Lambi went as a Duta to the king and completely surrounded him with thoughts of Bhagavan, so that Alavandar could not escape from it. So this kind of a coincidence we see between the ingredient that the king got addicted to and the meaning that we get from its name. In olden days, back when Sriman Nathamuni was there, he had learned the Prabandha from Sri Shatakopa Muni himself. After learning, he not only transmitted the knowledge, but also himself used to recite them again and again to enjoy Bhagavan, think about the deeper meanings and so on. Once, when he had been doing it in this way, Sriman Nathamuni was thinking about the verse that addresses Bhagavan as Aravamudan. We have seen before about this. This name, we have seen about it before, right? Now, this name is not a translation of any popular Sanskrit name of Bhagavan. Let us say there are 1,000 popular Sanskrit names of Bhagavan in Vishnu Sahasranama. None of them would get translated to this word of Tamil. But the Alvar has addressed Bhagavan in this way, Aravamude. Remember, that is the verse that took Sriman Natha Muni towards Divya Prabandhan in its completeness. So, his son, Ishvara Muni, named his son as Yamunai Turaiva. If you have learned Tirupavai, you might know that it is, of course, referring to Krishna. Once, Ishvara Muni, that is the father of Alavandar, he had gone in Tirtha Yatra to North India. He was there on the banks of the Yamuna river. They say that during that time, on the banks of Yamuna river only, Alavandar was born. And therefore, he got the name as Yamunai Turaivar. But when he was a child itself, his father left the world and attained Sri Vaikuntha. As a result, Alavandar could not learn much from his father. There was another Acharya from whom he learned. But it was during this time, we have seen the remaining part of the story, right? We have seen about the Asthana Vidwan, Aki Advan. Aki Advan was addressed in Sanskrit as Vidvajjana Kolahala. So Vidvajjana Kolahala, who was called Aki Advan in Tamil, was the famous scholar in the Pandya kingdom. Being the Asthana Vidwan in the Pandya kingdom, he ensured that nobody else is able to rival him. And therefore, he would use Kutarka in debates. He would also keep very harsh rules for the debates. Eventually, this was questioned by the child. After that part, we have seen the story. So, he was only around 12 years of age when he went and debated with Aki Advan. Just 12 years of age. Eventually, he took up sannyasa and he lived in Srirangam. Then, as he started growing old, what do we see? Somewhere else, in Tiruputkudi, Bhagavad Ramanuja is learning under Yadava Prakasha. We have seen about how Yadava Prakasha decided to stop teaching Bhagavad Ramanuja because the latter could not agree with everything that Yadava Prakasha spoke. Yadava Prakasha literally insulted Bhagavan. How can the Shishya accept an insult of Bhagavan just because the Acharya is saying it? Shastras say you should always listen to your Guru and you should believe in your Guru. But what is the reason why you should always listen to the Guru, always obey the Guru, always accept what the Guru says, even if you do not know why he is saying it. These kinds of teachings exist in the scriptures. But the reason why they say accept the Guru's words even if you don't understand why is because the Guru is supposed to be the person who takes you towards Bhagavan. When that Guru himself insults Bhagavan, tries to take you away from Bhagavan, should you still listen to the Guru? Should you still accept everything that he says? So Bhagavad Ramanuja set an example there. He showed utmost respect, but still disagreed. We have seen that part before. So during the time he had been separated from Yadava Prakasha, once Yamunacharya got to hear about Bhagavad Ramanuja from Tirukachinambi, Kanchipurna. What happened after that? We will see in the next class. If you have any question based on what we covered today, please let me know.
Namaste, Guruji. I have a question.
Namaste. Your throat is problematic, it seems.
Yes, sir. So are the slokas in Divya Prabandha written in Sanskrit or Tamil, sir?
Divya Prabandham is composed in Tamil, but for Tiruvaimuri at least, we have Pratibimba Lahari that my venerable Acharya has been teaching, which is basically Sanskrit shlokas. One Sanskrit shloka as an equivalent for each Tamil verse. We also have shlokas that summarize decade, right? You call it a group of 10 verses. So we have Sanskrit shlokas summarizing each set of 10 Tamil verses, Sanskrit shlokas summarizing each set of 100 verses, and for Tiruvaimuri, for each individual verse also, we have Sanskrit shlokas.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
But originally, Divya Prabandham is not in Sanskrit. It is in Tamil. That is there. So that is why we call it as Dravida Veda. It teaches the same things as the Vedas, but in the Dravida Bhasha. And further, it teaches everything with bhakti. Every single line of the Veda might not directly invoke bhakti in the minds of the reciter. I have seen many people reciting Vedas, but I have never seen any person who recites the Vedas brimming with bhakti while reciting. However, my venerable Acharya once said that he said in a podcast once, podcast interview, whatever, he said it once that his venerable Acharya, who was also his father, when he would recite the Vedas, he would cry with bhakti. So recitation of Vedas are also supposed to teach bhakti. Vedas are also supposed to teach the greatness of Bhagavan, the divine qualities of Bhagavan. They are also supposed to bring us Bhagavad Anubhava. And there are great acharyas who have experienced Bhagavan that way. But it is rare because Vedas, in general, the way people learn it and the way people understand it, they do not immediately get that bhakti rasa from it. The Divya Prabandha is different. Although it gives the same teaching as the Veda, every verse would, even if you make a rough English translation, that translation would also show that it is talking about bhakti. So that is the beauty of Divya Prabandha. So Pratibimba Lahari was composed by one of my Purvacharyas. If by chance you have seen my Instagram post, there is one Instagram post that talks about how Krishna actually took all the poison away from Putana. In that post, you can see that after sharing the verse in Tamil, I have also given in Sanskrit that shloka. Krura Swanta, it will start in
We'll
Sanskrit.
check that, sir. Thank you.
Is there any other question? Okay, there is nothing in the chat section. Out of respect for the acharyas, in the Tamil Sri Vaishnava tradition, we do not address them directly by their name. So even Bhagavad Ramanuja, we call him Emberumanar, Udayavar, and so on. As Sri Vaishnavas, we don't immediately use the word Ramanuja in Tamil. Out of respect. It is said in the Dharma Shastras that we should not directly address the Acharya by name. Just you should not address certain people with name. For example, we cannot address our father with name. We call him father, but we cannot call him by name. We don't take the names of people who are supposed to be extremely respectable for us. But it is also necessary to know their names, correct? So where it is absolutely necessary to use their names, we will use. At other places, we would address them with very respectable titles. So when you see names like Manakal Nambi, Tirkachi Nambi, Tirkoštiyur Nambi, Tirumalai Nambi, Periya Nambi, none of them is the real name of those acharyas. Even in Sanskrit, Periya Nambi is Mahapurna. Tirkachi Nambi is Kanchi Purna. Kachi means Kanchi. But they were not really named as Kanchi Purna or Goshti Purna like that. Those are titles that we give them out of respect. He was able to go to the courtroom because Aki Advan had demanded that people should accept him as the greatest scholar and pay tax to him. All the other acharyas in the kingdom should pay tax to him. He demanded tax. So, Yamunacharya, who was back then still a child only, when he heard that this Asthana Vidwan, Vidvajana Kolahala, who is called Aki Advan in Tamil, he is saying, either you defeat me in debate, in such that if you lose the debate, the punishment will be harsh, or you pay me tax, you surrender to me and pay tax. He was behaving as though he has conquered all the lands as a king and is then asking them to pay taxes. He could not bear it. How could he insult my venerable Acharya in this way? My Acharya is a very scholarly person. But I am very confident that if this is the level of ego he has, he would not be able to defeat even me. So as a child, he went ahead and challenged Aki Advan. How did he manage to go? Did people not stop him? Well, he went there as a representative of his Acharya. Therefore, he was allowed. But people thought maybe he would just convey a message. He did not convey any message from the Acharya. He said directly that Aki Advan would not be able to defeat even him. Then the incident happened. The three questions, Aki Advan is not able to say the opposite. Then he says, will you be able to say the opposite? And Yamunacharya explains how the opposites are still okay to be said. That incident happened. Okay, we'll conclude here. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram. We will also see shlokas of the next these acharyas. I think for Manakal Nambi also we haven't seen. Manakal Nambi, Alavandar. We will see shlokas in the next class and we will see the meanings of those shlokas also. Thank you for attending.